Hi guys, I hope everybody is doing good. Please put your name and say where are you from in the chat so that we will know where are you from and also please put hi or something if you can hear me. So today we are going to talk about JMeter. So it's one of the exciting topic I always love to talk about. And this week we have a guest, Ibrahim, with us, who is a JMeter expert. He's been working from past many years in JMeter. So we are going to get some yarn from Ibrahim, best practices about JMeter, how to record web publication, everything. So please stay tuned. And if you have JMeter right now with you, if you're on a laptop, please open so that we can do like a hands-on workshop also. So we are going to start from scratch. Even if you don't have any experience with JMeter, you can listen. Even if you have some advanced knowledge, also still you can hear the advanced tips and tricks from Ibrahim. Yeah, thank you. First, let us get our introduction from Ibrahim. Hi, Ibrahim. How are you? You are mute.
Hello, Naveen.
Hi, Ibrahim.
Thanks.
Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having
Excited
me.
to have you here.
Oh, likewise, actually, to be honest, it's the first time, kind of. Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining and making your time to, join this up.
So we have Fani from Hyderabad, Imran from India, Karnataka.
Hello,
Thanks,
Imran.
thanks guys for joining us. So
Oh,
please, we are streaming in LinkedIn, Facebook, and I think uh, another platform also. I think YouTube, and then I think Twitter also. I guess. So please say hi, whatever platform you're watching, and apologize for any mistakes because I just recently started streaming. So if you find any mistakes, please ping me in LinkedIn and let me know. Share your feedback to my email ID and also check my website for more details about performance testing and other things. Thank you, Ravi, for joining. Thanks, Vaibhav, for joining us. So let me quickly share my screen. So let us get started with some basic stuffs about performance testing. I hope you can see my screen, Ibrahim, right? Are you able to see my screen,
no.
Ibrahim?
I'm seeing you scam.
No?
No. Are you
Okay.
sharing the screen?
Yes, one second. Now?
Yep, I can see it. Yeah.
Good. Okay. So let us get started with some basics about performance testing. And then we are going to talk about the Java ecosystem and then a little bit about geometry history. I am sure I'm not going to bore you with the past, but just give you a glimpse so that you are on the same page, so that you know the backstory, what JMeter is, why JMeter is, and other details. Okay. So please put your comment about what you think about performance testing. So what do you mean from your perspective? What this performance testing is? So from my perspective, performance testing is a subset of performance engineering. So we have a discipline called performance engineering. It's all about performance, optimizing performance, improving performance in any field. If you take a motor vehicle or mobile applications, mobile phone, or any tool, right? So there will be a discipline for improving the performance. So similarly, if you take web applications or mobile applications or any applications or web services, so there is always a room to improvement. So if you're working on any e-commerce based application, so this is one typical example usually people can easily understand. So during Diwali season or during Thanksgiving season, people just to storm the website and they might not be able to purchase whatever they need because the system cannot take the load. So before any deal goes live or before you release into the production, you want to make sure your application is working fine for everyone without any quality issues. So we all do manual testing. We all come from manual testing. So we always test for the functionality, but performance, people usually say non-functional, but I don't agree with the term. Even performance also, it is a functionality of the application. So whenever you start testing your application, now functionally alone is not the right way to sign off. You have to sign off from security perspective. You have to sign off from the performance testing perspective. So this performance testing is a process where you make sure your application is working fine under heavy load, and also it is scalable because right now it is cloud native applications. So it should be scalable, it should be available, and it should work as is without any issues, without any downgrading. So how do we test it? So there are various tools available in the market. There are commercial tools, there are open source tools, or if you want to create your own tool, of course you can design. Or if you want to use something very simple command line tool, you can adopt that. But JMeter, it's been there from past more than 20 years in the field. So initially it started as a developer's tool, but right now it's for everybody. Even developers uses it, testers, DevOps, SREs, so everybody uses JMeter. So we are going to see why JMeter is powerful in the upcoming live streams. But today we'll just get a glimpse about JMeter. So right now I am sharing my screen. I don't see your comments, but once I go back to the live stream again, I will put the comments on the screen. So please bear with me for a couple of minutes. So now let us talk about Java. So Java, write once, run anywhere. You have a JVM where it will run your code, compiled code, machine code, and you will just get some UI. You can create some thick client applications. You can create web applications. So just you can just Wikipedia the Java term, But I'm going to touch base why Java. What is the relation between JMeter? So JMeter is 100% pure uh, Java based application. So it has been designed in Java, and to use JMeter, you need to install JDK, preferably JDK, but to run, you can use a JRE. But since we are engineers, so I recommend you to install JDK because it comes with its own tools and utilities to validate the performance, to troubleshoot the issues, etc. I already put up a long series about performance engineering and using Java application, so you can check it out in my YouTube playlist. So there are various flavors available. Again, the history is Sun Microsystem, Oracle. So those history also you can check it out by just browsing for 5 minutes. So there are various flavors available: Oracle, OpenJDK, Amazon Corretto, Microsoft also has its own flavor, Azure. So there's so many flavors available. So it doesn't matter what flavor you are going to use. It really doesn't matter. But make sure you are using the Java 8 plus version because JMeter supports Java 8 plus. And let us quickly discuss about the JMeter history. So JMeter built on Swing framework. So if you see the UI, all are Swing elements. And initially, it started Stefano Mazzucci. So he's the developer who created. I think 20 years ago. I think I was studying some fifth grade or sixth grade at the time. So at the time, he created this tool to test the web requests, the HTTP requests, and he just improved it. He released to the community. He improved it, and many developers contributed towards the base code, and then started supporting more protocols: HTTP, FTP, SMTP, database. Even right now, Bolt protocol, the new protocol from Neo4j. So there are various protocols you can do. Suppose even if you don't find any protocol you want, you can develop on your own, and then you can publish it as a plugin so that everybody can use it. And the power of JMeter is it's a simple UI. You don't see a lot of elements like commercial tools. It's just very simple, minimal tool you can learn quickly. And the framework itself, there are a lot of things going on, but on a high level, we are going to cover, and eventually we are going to cover the advanced topics. And also it supports the GUI. If you want to develop scripts, you can use the GUI mode. If you don't want to use the GUI, of course you can use the non-GUI to run your test for the better performance. and it supports the HTML report. You can easily integrate CI/CD. You can run in Docker. You can run in Kubernetes. So even the latest modern framework also you can easily integrate in a JMeter. Okay, so these are the things I would like to cover. So from this onwards, we are going to talk about installing JMeter. So I'm going to hand over to Ibrahim. So Ibrahim is an expert in JMeter, so he knows in and out. So let us hear from Ibrahim.
Oh, thanks again
Ibrahim,
for the yeah. Thanks again for the wonderful intro. So, guys, I will pick it up from here. So, I will show you installing JMeter. So, installing JMeter is nothing but it's an extraction of tarball or as a zip file. So, where you can get is you can get JMeter either from the archive or else from the JMeter website itself. So, if you go to JMeter Apache org, so you have the download releases. Go here, and then the binaries are the ones which are executables. The source or the nothing but the source code of the application. So
Ibrahim, you're not sharing your screen.
oh, sorry, I'm sorry.
That's fine. Okay.
uh, Able to see my screen?
Yes, yes, I can.
Yeah. So go to JMeter Apache org, and then in the download releases, if you click on it, so you will have binaries and source code. So binaries are nothing but the executables which we are gonna use it, and then another source is nothing but the source code of that particular compiled version. So you can download the source from here or it's directly from the GitHub. It's up to you. And for Windows users, it's better to download the zip. And for Unix or Mac, they can go for TZs. And basically, it's called a tarball. So since I'm using Linux, I will show you from tarball. So this is one way of downloading it. And if you wanted to use some of the previous collection of previous version of JMeter, there is something called Archive Apache. So this is a distribution. This distribution will have all of the application which Apache manages. So what we need is a JMeter. So if you go in here, again, you will have source and binaries. So inside binaries, you will have all of the versions as you wanted. So since from 2 point or whatever versions available, it's everything was preserved here. So you can always roll back to your previous version if you wanted to go. So this is the place where you can search for it. And once you download it, keep it somewhere. So I will show you. So I'm not going to download it here. What I did is I already have a tarball. So if you see, this is a tarball. So first of all, you need to find a location to store it. So this is a downloaded location. So I'm going to have it in my home directory in the somewhere called installers. So here I already have 5.4.2. If I want to install the 5.5, so I need to copy that. For
So
Windows
Ibrahim,
users,
I have a question here.
yep.
Yeah, so most of us are using Windows as their primary
Oh, okay.
operating system. So this will we can use the same follow. I mean the instructions for Windows as well, right?
Right. That's what I mean. So instead of TCC, they will have zip. Whatever command I'm going to tell them, whatever command I'm going to show them. So it's going to be the same. So if you see here, this is my one of my location basically. So let me show it in UI as well. So
Could you
inside
please
home,
increase the font size, Ibrahim? It's too small to see.
okay.
Yeah,
Is that
yeah,
okay?
now it's better. Yeah, yes, thank you.
Okay. So what I wanted to show you is like this is a directory. Installers is a directory where I keep all my installable files here. So this tarball is not executable until unless it is extracted. So first I need to extract it. In Linux, you can either go to UI and then right click and then extract here. Or the same way it goes in Windows as well. If you right click, you will see unzip file that will extract the directory here. So I'm good. I'm doing it the same way in command line. So it's nothing but it extracted here a directory called JMeter 5.5. So no longer I need this file. So if you see here, so only 5.4.2 and 5.5. So you can have multiple versions of JMeter. How do we switch between the multiple versions? Just creating a symbolic link. Symbolic link in Linux is nothing but a shortcut. You can have a shortcut also created in Windows. Hopefully, you might be aware of right clicking and then create a shortcut. That is the easiest way to do it in Windows. In Linux, it's there's a command called ln/n, ln-s, and then the directory name, whichever you wanted to create a symbolic link, and whatever name. So in here, Apache JMeter. So this will point to the. So basically, this tells you this Apache JMeter is a shortcut, and whatever it starts with is L is nothing but a link. Link is nothing but a shortcut. So this Apache JMeter is pointing to 5.4.2. So if I execute this command, and then if you see here, now the Apache JMeter. Sorry,
Have to
Apache
give a new
JMeter.
name for that
No,
because you
no,
already
no,
copied.
no, no. It will work. I interchange the. So if you give it like this, the Apache JMeter link will be pointed here. Oh,
Okay.
the directory has file doesn't exist. Where am I? Right. Like this, you can create a like this. You can create a symbolic link. So whatever it is, it will point to the same stuff. So this is nothing but a shortcut. You can create it, or you don't have to create it. So removing a symbolic link is nothing but you just rm then 5.5 that will remove the symbolic links. So just a shortcut, whatever you do, it is not a very important stuff. But what important stuff which we need to know is setting up the environment variable. So how do we start it? The starting is like you need to create an alias in Windows. I will show you first in Windows. So in Windows, you will have something called go to your system properties, and then go to advanced settings, and then in the advanced system settings, you go to the environment variables. First thing you need to create is a Java home. If you have Java, you have a Java home here, and also you need to create a JMeter home. JMeter home is nothing but wherever you install the JMeter, that path without the bin directory. So just the directory path. And once it is done, add the JMeter underscore home to the path variable. So there is something called a path variable. So you need to open that one and install JMeter underscore home slash bin slash the path. So the slash differs from Windows to Unix. So uh, Windows uses this slashes, and then Unix uses backslash. Uh, so once you added this one to verify that whether your path has a JMeter property or not. So open your command prompt in Windows and then type path. So I'm not sure whether you're able to see my screen. Is it visible?
No, because of the color, it's a green, right?
Uh,
So it's not
oh, okay.
bright enough to see. That's fine. Now it's blue. I mean, again,
Yeah. Is it okay?
yeah. No, the font color actually, not the background.
Okay. I'm not sure what is the color value is.
Okay, that's fine. We can go to the black one only. Probably you can
Okay.
increase the font size. Yeah.
You able to see my
Now it's,
screen?
Yeah, yes, correct.
So
Yeah.
whenever you go to the command prompt, just type a keyword called path, or else you can type echo path as well. So that will work. So echo percentage path. So that will also execute the path name. So inside this, you need to see two things. One is the Java related arguments. Another one is a JMeter related argument. So if you see here, this is my Java related arguments, which should end with a bin. So that is very important. So binaries are nothing but the executable files present directory, and the uh, for JMeter, it should see something like this. So C installer, again, it should end up with a binary. So these are the things prerequisite you need to do for Unix or Mac. You can use the same environment variables. So if you use print env, so that this is something relatively equivalent to Windows. Um, but it is not very advisable to use the export, because that will be not very flexible. So what I suggest is you make a configuration on bash or c, and then do it as an alias. So what is an alias? Alias is like it's your it's a building your own command. So whatever command you wanted to build it, you can build it on Unix or Mac. So you go to your root directory. So root directory is cd and then the tilde. So basically this will tell me my home whatever user is. It is nothing but like C drive users and then the username in Windows. So if you type in, so this is your directory. So there is a hidden files as well. So there is something called a bash profile and bash or C. So the configuration which we are going to do is bash or C. So if it is a one-time task, if you do it very well, and then it will be easier for you to run the JMeter. Just click on open it, and then you create something called alias. So alias is nothing but whatever command you wanted to execute. Right now I have two commands for JMeter. One is JMeter, another one is JMeter dev. So both the commands I'm passing in a JMeter home variable, and then the file which needs to be executed. So to normally how we started is like this. So if we go to installers, and then 5.4.2, and then if we go here, so, and then we type in. So I'm currently in the Apache JMeter directory. So in this, what I need to do is I need to type in JMeter. That's it. It will start a JMeter for me. So
Ibrahim, is setting up the JMeter home, is it mandatory?
it's advisable. Basically, it's not why. I will tell you why I'm setting up that is one is. That is advisable whenever you have a Java related program, not only a JMeter, either it's of an Eclipse, or it's of a Maven, or it's of whatever which is related to Java. It is always good practice to go with a home directory. For example, if you are Maven, then there is something called M2 home. If it is of Eclipse, there is something called Eclipse home as well. So like this it will start. So how does this been started is like there is a file called jmeter.sh. So if you, so this file is responsible for opening up the JMeter. So what I am doing is I'm giving up the whole path here, and then I'm saving it as an alias. So once you save it, uh, it will it will run as a command. So if I type in JMeter and then click on tab, it will give me if it will give me what are the available commands available with the particular directory or whatever commands you wanted. So this is how we do it. And if you want to see what is the what is the alias going to do, type in alias and then type JMeter. So this is going to execute this one. So why I'm creating this is to start JMeter whatever you want. So once you install it, my JMeter is in the installers directory, Apache JMeter directory, the 5.4.2. So no matter where I go, so if you see here, I'm at this point. So if I want to go to somewhere called workspace, and then JMeter. So this is the directory. I don't have anything. So if I open JMeter, just type JMeter here. Just type JMeter here. So this will start a JMeter on that particular directory. This will be helpful for creating uh, creating a recording on that particular directory itself, or else running a script, opening a script on that particular directory itself is efficient. So instead of it's opening somewhere, opening the JMeter somewhere, and then you are going to file, and then doing control O, and then there will be relative path will be mismatching. That will avoid it.
Yeah, great stuff, Ibrahim. I think it's
So
one of the productivity improvement, right? So it saves our time, a lot of time.
yeah, so it's- this is our best practices. This you can consider as a best practice. So it's like going to be a one-time setup. So once you do it properly, then you can open JMeter anywhere. You don't have to always rely on jmeter.bat or jmeter.sh to start the JMeter always. So once you download it, install it, and make this configuration done, then always you can open up a command prompt anywhere, and then you can start the JMeter. So this is the first thing I wanted to show you. So this is a part of installing JMeter and the environment settings basically. Second thing is like validating the installation. So right now I have downloaded I extracted it, and then I have done the environment settings. So how do I validate it? So no matter, again, you go in anywhere, anywhere, and then type JMeter -v, just like Java. It should show you a JMeter version. So right now I'm using 5.4.2, so that's why it's showing as 5.4.2. So, or else you can use JMeter help also. That also works. So the difference between dash v and help is nothing but this will exactly tell me what's the version alone. The help tells me how to execute the JMeter also. So this is the right way to execute the JMeter. Like you need to follow this command. So since this is only liaised with batch file, which is for Windows, and this is for Linux basically. So you can use whatever command which is appropriate for your operating system. So that is how we need it to. So secondly, whatever we have is a vanilla JMeter. Vanilla JMeter is like we freshly downloaded it from the website, and we are going to use it. So I would not recommend it to use it like way. So you need to make some changes. So to make the changes, you need to understand what are the important components inside a JMeter. So I will give you an overview about the JMeter directory. Let's get into it.
Please increase the font size,
Oh, sorry.
Ibrahim. Yeah,
Please tell me. I will forget it. Is it visible?
yeah, little bit,
Yeah.
little more.
Is it okay?
Yeah, yeah, this fine. Yes.
Okay. So right now I'm inside the JMeter directory. So
Yeah, nice boy is saying new way of opening JMeter. Thanks. Yeah, yes,
so
please.
so this is the directory. Basically, whenever you extract a JMeter, so these are directories. So whatever starts with the D, I can show you in UI as well, so that people not familiar with terminal will also see what are inside it. So inside it. So this is going to be the structure. So you see here, all these are directories, and these are licenses files. So what I'm going to tell you is like what is very important. So not all the directories are important for running a JMeter. So to execute a JMeter, you don't need docs. Basically, you don't need extracts. You don't need licenses. You don't need printable docs. Basically, what is very important? Important is the binary and the library. So this the extras is also important because that it's not very important to run a test or to record a test, but this extras has something related to generating a server certificate or something like that. So they will have all this information put in here. These docs are nothing but your HTML help files, and then licenses or whatever jars they are using. They use that licenses because since it's an open source, you need to attach the licenses of using it as an open source. So all these libraries which we are having it. So all this, if you look into the library directory, so these are the jars. Each jar has its own license of using it free. That there is something called a free distributable license. So all these licenses go in here. So even if you remove this license directory, it will work. This license file it will work. This and the readme, all this works. Only the important part has been uh, bin and library is very important, and extra some of the advanced stack it is required. So you can say all these three are very important: bin, extras, and library. So these three
Usually
are
what
very.
I do,
Sorry.
yeah, usually what I do after downloading JMeter, I
Yeah.
will delete the docs, printable
Yeah.
docs, images,
Yeah.
everything I delete so that
Yeah.
I can save some space.
Right. So whoever wants to save the space on LoadGen, they can remove these directories. That is not going to harm the environment. So why we need backups? So backups are like whenever you do a save, or like whenever you forget to save, or when you start running without a save, so it will prompt for a save. So there is a copy which been made to this directory. Whenever your script is corrected, you always corrupted, you always come to this backup directory that will have a backup of your file whatever you worked on. So this will keep a retention of something 30 days, I guess. I'm not sure about it, but as long as you have a disk space, you will have a backup here. Whenever your original script corrupted, you always go back to this directory to check whether a backup copy of your corrupted script is there. So you can always roll back to that, and then you can start from there. It is not 100% guaranteed that you will get the entire script recovered, but like 95% of the script can be recovered, which means like the last modification might be lost.
So if
So
we
this is
are
a one.
using the Git repository in our
Sorry.
projects,
Okay.
if you are using a Git in our projects,
Hmm.
so no need to rely on backups, right?
Yeah,
We
right.
can
Correct.
use
Correct.
Git.
Correct. Versioning is a good point in JMeter, and it's easy to maintain versioning in JMeter because it's a file. JMX is a simpler file. So if you have a Git repository, it is always good to use. But people who are using the local desktop for their development purposes, and if in middle it corrupts it, if you don't have a backup somewhere else, then it is the only option they can go rely on.
Okay, we have
So
one question.
yep.
Sujit is asking, please cover how to calculate the required heap size in
Okay.
properties.
Yeah, I will come in there. I will come in there. Okay.
Cool.
So so these are the important directories I said. So what is the difference between binary and library? Binary are executables which rely on the libraries. So all of the orchestration work done by binary directory, and the orchestration components will be available with the library. For example, uh, to start a JMeter, what are the required jars, everything is compiled by a shell. That shell relies on library, so something like that. So in library itself you'll have something different. So if you log into library, so all of the jars are nothing but nothing called dependencies, and whatever you have in ext is called core. So So this, if you see this ext, all this are called core, and whatever you see inside the library are called the dependencies. That core requires this dependencies to execute any functionality within the JMeter. So that is how it works. So whenever you download any plugin, it goes into ext directory. It will be here, library ext. So whenever you download a plugin, it goes directly into ext, and whatever dependencies required for that particular plugin, that goes into library directory. That's the difference between these two. Eventually you can put it here because everything loaded, but to differentiate between the dependencies and the core, this is how it's been it's been segregated. So that how it works.
If you're using third-party jars from the
Yeah.
internet, so where do we keep it? Is it under library or ext?
You can keep it under library. So there is a different way we can use it, which we need to use it. Maybe you can. The JMeter is like very compatible. So it is not only like we have to keep only these directories. We can have some extra directories, and then we can ask the JMeter to load this directory just like library and library ext.
Got it.
That is also possible, just
In
like
the
this one.
jmeter.sh file, we have to create a
No, no.
mapping.
Yeah, correct. We need to set the environment variable. Then it will directly pick up that directory also as part of JMeter startup. So that whenever the JMeter starts in, it reads all the library, and then it goes into the ext, and then it reads that library as well, and then whatever it is, it picks up there. The same way you can create your own directory, and you can map the directory to JMeter. The JMeter will pick up that directory as part of a startup, so that nothing will be missed out. That is to segregate your own plugin with the market available plugin.
Correct.
Okay, so let's not confuse that one. So we'll cover that later. So what's inside binary? So binaries are nothing but, as I said, all the executables, or the orchestration, everything comes in. Everything is in the binary. So the file which is responsible for starting the JMeter in Unix or Mac is JMeter sh, and file whichever is responsible for starting the JMeter in Windows is JMeter.bat. So some people uses Apache JMeter jar. It's an executable jar basically. If you double click it, it will open it, but it's not a very advisable because it will lose so much of arguments while starting it. So it's like the brother asked me, how do we set the heap size? So the heap size goes in the responsible startup files. So as I said, it's JMeter. Another one is jmeter.bat. So these two files are the startup files. So the any if you want to add any Java argument, it has to be with with the startup. So that's why it's called a startup arguments. Um, so since I'm using, I will show it in Linux as well, and I will show it in bat. For changing the, as a housekeeping, first of all, when you download a vanilla JMeter, you need to change the heap setting. So I will show it in a notepad. So Sublime is my notepad. So first, Windows, you open up the jmeter.bat and I hit enter. Let me know you're able to see my screen.
No, you have to increase it. Yeah.
No, okay.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah. So in the jmeter.bat, search for something called XMX.
So we have a question from
Yep.
Ajay. How to open JMeter from anywhere in Windows?
Oh, that's what I showed. Okay.
The
Uh,
similar approach we have to follow, right?
yeah, yeah, yeah. So, uh, in wait, I will show you them also. So, in Windows, you go to your PC, right click on there in Properties. Okay. So, if you see in Windows, my JMeter location is here. C drive, installers, and then inside it I have Apache JMeter and then Apache JMeter. So this is my path. So copy that path first. Go to your advanced system settings. Set the environment variable. So you don't have to set, if you don't want to set JMeter home, you don't have to. All you need to do is you need to go to the path. You need to go to the path and then add the entry here. So just like click on new and then paste the path and then give it a give it a bin here. So whenever you provide a path in the provide the path for a tool in the path variable, so you need to end up with a bin if it is of Java. So click on OK. So this will add your home path. Since I have it, I will remove it. Once you added this thing, uh, wherever you go, let me open the command prompt. So I don't have a D drive. Maybe I can go to somewhere to. I can go to, yeah, downloads. I
Documents.
can,
Okay.
yeah, anywhere. Right, so I'm in downloads now. If I wanted to open a JMeter, just if I type JMeter, then type, it will work. Even if I execute in,
So where is
so
the
see, yeah.
keyword is coming from, Ibrahim? That JMeter keyword, where we are configuring it?
Oh, that configuration comes from here. So whenever we map the file, let's say I'm mapping the bin, right? So all these executables, whatever is supported for Windows, for example, the batch files are supported, right? So all these batch files can be accessed using the command line. So for example, if you see here, so this create RMA key store, right? So there's two things. RMA key store is a Windows batch file. So if I type in create and click on a tab,
It automatically complete the
Yeah,
word
RMI, and then
key store.
key store. Yeah. So if you type in, you see that it's working.
Yes.
So I gave my name something like that. Test, test,
So we can give
test.
any name. We can change the. We can rename
No, no.
it
This is
to.
creating. This is creating a certificate. What I'm saying is,
I'm saying if you want to rename to JM or
yeah,
JMeter or
yeah.
JMeter something
Anything,
like.
anything, anything. Yeah. And also you can create your own file. So this is like creating a certificate. I'm messing up actually.
Just cancel it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yes. So if you means instead of yes, I am clicking. So now, so it is asking me. So it's like creating a RMA key store password. So what I'm saying is, so whatever here, whatever executables you are seeing it here, you can execute using anywhere.
But you have to set the bin folder path
Yeah,
on
bin
the
there folder path.
environment
Yeah.
variables.
So, yeah. So once you set it, it will be there. So for Unix, the easiest way is this one. So the alias which I showed you. So if you go to this uh, alias and then JMeter, so you can have a whole path instead of JMeter home also. That will also work. So this is some command which we need to use for starting a JMeter. So
Yeah, JMeter home is giving you flexibility. We can easily
yeah,
switch from one version to another version.
yeah, correct. So that is how it works. And coming back to the heap setting, so for Windows they use open the jmeter.bat uh, and search for something called XMX. I recommend to change it to minimum of 2 gig. If you have a proper RAM, always it should be less than a RAM. For example, if I have 8 gig of RAM, I would recommend go up to 6 gig, and 2 gig will be for the class loaders and other metaspace and everything. So if you have 8 gig of RAM and 4 core CPU, it's a nice load generator. And if you have a 8 core CPU and then 16 gig of RAM, that is a very best optimal configuration for a load generator. So it's up to you. It's up to whatever organization provides it. So the minimum should be of 4 gig. That's what I recommend. So whenever you change a heap setting, there is something called minimum heap setting and maximum heap setting. So when you say minimum heap setting, you can have, let's say my machine is of 4 gig of, or like 8 gig of RAM. I want to allocate only 4 gig to JMeter execution, means engine JVM. So what I will do, I will set 1 gig to as a minimum and a maximum as 4 gig, which means it starts with 1 gig and then it eventually increases the heap size whenever it is required, and it goes up to 4, and when reaches 4, then thereafter it won't increase it. But it is a bad way of setting it. Don't rely on this setting. Why I'm saying is because the JVM will have an extra task to calculate the heap setting and everything. So always set the same setting, whatever you see. Let's say I'm going to set 4 gig, do the 4 gig here, so that it is permanent. Either it will be underutilized or it like properly utilized, so there won't be any calculation going to be happen on the JVM. So this is the right recommendation. It's not only for JMeter, it's for any Java application you have it on server or anything. If you have different XMS and XMX setting, always change it to the same setting whatever you have. So whatever goes in XMX should be on XMS. That's the right recommended way of having it on Java. And by default, JMeter will not have metaspace, I guess, this configuration. You can have this configuration to 256. I think it's 124 something by default. You can have that setting. And then the one more setting I would recommend is one more setting I would recommend is like a stack size. There is something called stack size. So if you type dash XSS and then set it to 512 KB. So this is nothing but any individual thread. So it's a Java based thing. Basically whenever you start a JMeter runs different threads inside it, technically. So each thread will have its own execution stack. So whenever something goes wrong, it will print that. To hold the size of each stack for each thread, you can set the setting to 512 KB. This is a recommended setting. This is not very essential. The JMeter will run perfectly without it also. But it's a recommended setting. So if you use XXS, that's a good thing to go with. This is where you set the heap setting on Windows. For Linux, it's the same. Uh, if you go to the JMeter, so in Windows, it's different basically. There will be something called JMeter SH and JMeter. So JMeter SH is a wrapper on top of JMeter. So whenever you open JMeter SH, it again relies on JMeter file, which is goes back to this file only. So you can directly make changes to there. So again, you need to search for XMX. So here I have set it to 2 gig. So whatever setting, the same thing. So the arguments going to be same. So even if I use this XXS arguments, the JVM arguments will not change according to the platform. So you can have this thing. Only thing is it goes under double quotes. In Windows it won't. So you can have it like this. So this is where you set the heap setting. So the first thing in doing it, and properties. I will cover properties as well. So secondly, in binary directory, yeah. Do we have questions now?
Uh, uh, yeah, we have some general questions. Can we see it now?
Yeah, yeah, sure. No, no, I
Okay,
thought you
so
interrupted
you
me.
take
Okay.
on the Raju is asking about, can JMeter is useful for UI performance testing? What are the challenges in UI scripting in
Uh,
JMeter? Any take on this,
yeah,
Ibrahim, from your experience?
yeah, it can be done on UI, but UI is there is something called a Selenium WebDriver, or let's like a protractor we can integrate with JMeter. That is easily done on JMeter. But the problem is it's the footprint. Each thread footprint will varies actually. So whenever you invoke a UI, you need a bigger machine. So you will not be able to execute multiple threads. Maybe you will end up using 50 threads per load generator, or it depends on the footprint basically. Um, Okay, so secondly thing what I need to show you is our properties file. So whenever you have this binary directory, so it will have 5 types of properties. So if you see here, so these are the properties file which is available with the JMeter. Each property file has its own advantage. I will tell you what is it is. So JMeter properties is a core properties file. So whatever comes with the default setting goes in here. So you should not touch this one. So even if you want to touch it, make sure you have a backup of everything. So you should not touch this one. And report generator properties is completely completely based for generating a HTML report. So all these properties goes in here. For example, if you wanted a name to be created for a dashboard, so there is a HTML report created whenever we can create a HTML report for JMeter test results. So to do that, it comes with the default name. For example,
So we have a question on this same report generator properties
yeah.
from Ajay. Which config file I need to check to change the way how my HTML report looks?
Uh, if you want to change the UI, that is not possible at all. It's not possible in the sense I will show you. So this is your JMeter directory. So how JMeter creates HTML report is like you have a bin, go into bin. So there will be something called a report template. So you move to that report template. So this report template will have all the skeleton, basically the index skeleton, the HTML index skeleton. So what it does is whenever you try to generate a HTML report, JMeter copies this content and it appends the data which is passed from the JTL and put it and present it as a HTML report for us. So we can also open this one. Let me uh, so this is given as a different name. What I can do is I can show you for an example. Let's say JMeter will copy this FMKR and then it renames to whenever it tries to generate a file, it will rename it to index.html. I will show you this file, then you will understand what I'm trying to say. So you go in here, install as Apache JMeter, and then a bin. So in report templates, yeah, in report template. So I have copy this file. So initially it will be fmkr. So once you have all the files created, it looks like this. You see that what I'm saying? So all this will be a variable. So once the JTL is being passed and the data is extracted, it will append it here. So if you want to change the UI, that might work or they might not work. But if you use the same variable as it is, definitely it should work. So if you want to change the template or UI how it looks like, then you need to change the template here.
So
Does that
maybe
answer
as
my
a
question?
follow-up question.
Yeah.
So example, HTML reports shows the samplers under transaction controller. So how to hide that?
We'll come to that part actually. So we are not open the UI, right? So I will explain you. So we'll keep that in mind for sure. So this is how you can change the UI part of template basically. So going back to the properties file again. Uh, so the JMeter, as I said, JMeter properties is a core properties file. So you should not change any of the, you should not make any of the changes. And report generator properties is all related to the HTML report basically. I was showing this. Yeah. So I was showing this. So if you wanted to change the name of a report, something like instead of Apache JMeter, it always comes with a default title called Apache JMeter dashboard. So if you want to change it to QA Insight or something, you can change it here. All you need to do is uncomment this one and then uh, type in QA Insights. It will always generate a dashboard saying that QA engine. It can be your company logo also, and the granularity. So how the granularity is like the how the accumulation of the data. So every 60 seconds it will be accumulated. For example, if you're running for 60 minutes, then every minute will be accumulated as a granularity for the graphs basically. So you can change the granularity to lesser side, for say 10 seconds. So I usually keep it for 30 seconds. So by default it comes with 60, so it will have more visibility. The lesser the time, the more the visibility. That's what you say. So all these graphs, and you can have additional graphs as well. For example, JMeter report will not have errors per second graph, I guess. All those things you can create a own class file, and then you can map it here. So that is all these settings goes in here. So let's not get a deep dive into it. I'm just saying what it properties refers to. And then save service property. This is completely rely on the JTL file, how the JTL file will be written. For example, if you go in here, all these JTL file and everything is going to be given here, and also there will be some part. This is a core basically, and there is something in the user properties as well. So user property and JMeter properties are same basically. So JMeter property is a core, and user property is a property which supersedes JMeter property. So if you want to make changes to JMeter properties, never change it here. So always change anything comes for say if I want to change anything, something called naming policy in dot suffix equal to some variable, I need to set it. Don't change, set it in the JMeter properties. Instead, always set it in user properties, because user properties will always supersede the JMeter dot properties. So that's a good way. Upgrade properties is related to the JMeter upgrade thing. So it's not required. It is not of use. And system properties are related to the uh, arguments which will start with the system. And system properties, you can keep it SSL certificate, or else a environment variable. All these things goes into system properties. And system properties doesn't have a superseder, but I will show you how we can override this without modifying the system properties. So uh, as a best practice, never touch all these four. Try to keep up everything in the user properties itself. So that is how you can do it. Easiest way to manage it. So whenever there is a whenever you wanted to whenever you wanted to share the settings whichever you have, you can simply pass in the user properties. That will help the other engineers to start working on it. And I think we covered most of the thing on the basics of installing JMeter.
Yes, Ibrahim. So thank you for covering everything. Yeah, we got some questions that is uh, different topics, so I'm not
Yeah,
showing
so
the
means when you
screen. But yeah, eventually we will cover those questions.
okay.
The Pavan and Kishore, whatever the questions there in the chat, we will cover it eventually. So, any other tips in comes to installation over you, Brian?
Uh, so installation, these are the things which will make easier. And what else is there? Yeah, this pretty much covers up everything. Yeah,
Any questions, guys, related to JMeter
installation.
installation? Please post it in the chat. We will cover those. Apart from the topics, yes, we will cover in future sessions. It's not possible to accommodate all the questions in one session because JMeter is an ocean. So there are so many things are there to learn. You can learn for 10 years. You can keep learning new stuffs daily. So now let us move forward with the recording. So let me share my screen. Oh, I hope you can see my screen, right, Abraham?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So today I will just walk you through how to record your business application. So we are going to take something very commonly used demo application called Pet Store, JPet Store. So if you go to this link, I already posted in the chat. Please check it out. So this link, I have hosted it separately in Octeto. So Octeto is a cloud native platform. They have a free tier where you can deploy your application. So this JPEG store is built on MyBatis Spring, and if you just navigate, it's pretty easy. Just a self-explanatory. You can just browse for some fictional pets like fish, dogs, and if you go to each category, it will display the products like this. And if you just click on any product, it will display the price, and you can click on add to cart, and then you can check out. So before checkout, it will ask you to enter the password. The default password and the username is J2EE, and the password also J2EE. And if you click on login, it will place the order. And if you go to my account, you can see the my orders information. So this is very simple UI, and it's a great application to learn the performance concepts. So you can learn recording, data parameterization, correlation, assertion, Groovy. So it's up to your creativity. What are the things you want to learn? You can use this application, but do not put more load. This is my privately hosted thing, but you can create an account for your own and you can deploy using the JPEG Store Docker image. I will post these links in the chat. It's pretty quick and it's very easy. So no technical knowledge required to spin up the demo application. So now let me start the JMeter. So it's a brand new box. I don't have that alias things and all. I have to go to the respective folder here and I have to start the JMeter. So once you kick off the JMeter, so before recording, what I do, I will just play around with the application. I just make sure everything is proper. I have the valid test data, and then I know what I'm doing. So just play around with the application because during your just ad hoc testing, you might come up with some issues, right? So for any performance testing project, if you are getting started, make sure your application is stable enough and your core functionality is working fine. Otherwise, your script during recording might fail, and today it will work, tomorrow might not work. So those things will be there. So always take care about some ad hoc testing. Do the ad hoc testing before you start recording, and start fresh. Clear cookies, cache, everything, and start fresh session. Okay, do not start like this because already opened a lot of windows and all, right. So do not start like just for demonstration purpose. Let me just sign out and let us close this. And this repository, again, I'll put this link. So this has some collection of regular expressions, so which we are going to talk in a moment. So this repository has a frequently used regular expressions. So this will be very useful if we are moving forward with the advanced concepts. Also, we have a playlist here just to refer if you want to learn quickly, you can use this playlist for regular expressions. So now let me go to JMeter, and there are multiple ways you can start recording in JMeter. So there is no one way in JMeter for anything. There could be a better way, there could be a hard way. It's up to you. It's up to your comfortness, up to how you are comfortable in doing things. Okay. So here there is something called templates in JMeter. So if you click on this templates icon, or if you go to file menu and I click on templates, it will open one templates dialog box. So here community has created something called templates where you can reuse it so that you don't waste time in creating those elements. So it is purely for reusability and productivity. So here, if you just scroll down, you can see there are two templates available for recording. So one is recording and recording with think time. So think time and other concept we will see in the upcoming sessions. So now let us go with a simple recording because that's what we are going to do. And here you can see some information about your configuration, browser configuration, and other useful links. So just to click on create, and it will ask you to which URL you are going to record and what is the recording output file. Basically, whatever you record, it will be stored in one XML file. So usually by default, it will be in the bin folder. And what is the scheme to record, whether it is HTTP or HTTPS. So you have to just mention the protocol here. And let us click on create. So this will add the relevant elements which are required, which will be helpful for recording. So everything is an element in JMeter. So whenever you launch JMeter, in the left side, you can see the test plan. So that is the root element. So you cannot delete it. Think of like a parent element, root, XML root. So you cannot delete the root element. But under the root element, you can modify, you can add, you can delete. So whenever you create an XML, sorry, not XML, JMX file, basically it is an XML. So you can open that JMX in the editor. You can see the XML syntax. Editing the XML is not recommended because you might mess around, but always launch JMeter and make some changes. And here there are elements like user-defined variables, request defaults, cookie manager. So we are going to cover these eventually. But now let us focus on only on the recording part. So here at the bottom, you can see there is a test script recorder. So this is the element which will be useful to record any application, primarily web applications. And here there are a lot of controls are available. It's like a pilot's cockpit, right? So there are so many buttons and then switches, colorful lights and all. So forget about everything and just follow the default thing. That is always better. Whenever you are in doubt in JMeter, always go with the default values. If you are changing it, make sure you know what you are doing. That's what I learned JMeter in the initial days. And here, just leave everything default, including the port number. So this port number is important because this is how JMeter communicates with the internet. So we are going to talk about proxy pretty quickly. And if you click on the requests filtering, so here you can tell JMeter uh, what to record and what not. Because nowadays, if you take any e-commerce application or any application, if you take, there are advertisements, trackers, and unwanted junk files also will be loaded, right? So we don't want that in our JMeter test plan because that is not our business to test. For example, Google advertisements or Bing trackers or Yahoo trackers, right? So we don't want that. So that is why it is always best practice to mention the URL patterns to include. So basically, whenever you add something here by clicking on the add button, it will capture only this part, this domain, or whatever the regex says. And under the excludes, by default, there is a button called add suggested excludes. So this will add a commonly known websites which are known to tracking or your advertisements, cookies, and all, right? So if you see here, there are entries for yahoo.com, windowsupdate.com, uh, and then bing.com, right? Ibrahim, are you able to see my screen, or I'm
Yeah,
not
yeah, I
sharing?
can, I can, I can say, I can share.
Okay, okay, cool. I just want to make sure. Okay, so here what we are going to do is we are going to add one pattern, JPEG store pattern, so that JMeter only record those. Otherwise, it will keep recording the Firefox thing and whatever the Chrome extensions, Firefox extensions I have installed. So those also will be recorded. We don't want that. So here I already come up with the regex here. So this is the regex. You can just copy this in my repository, and you can just double click and paste it here. So basically what we are telling is record only this pattern and ignore everything else. So simple as configuration. So now let us talk about the port number here, 8888. So what is this? So by default, whenever you open your Windows or Mac or your Linux operating system, we don't use proxy in our personal laptops, right? Because we directly connect to internet. And if you go to your corporate laptop or corporate machine, your corporate might be using some proxy, or they might be using some VPN, etc., because they don't want to expose your machine to the internet. Right. So similarly, JMeter is not a browser. So whenever you go to JMeter website, they clearly mention JMeter is not a browser. It will not behave like a browser. It will not execute JavaScript, those things. So we have to tell JMeter, okay, I want to capture some traffic. So go to this port number and capture it. So the proxy is like a middleman which sits between your client and the internet. So whatever you are requesting, it will go via the proxy, and the proxy will forward the request to the internet, and then it will receive a response, and then it will capture it in the JMeter. So whenever you record all the tools, doesn't matter JMeter, if you take any tool, whichever has the recording capabilities, they will work behind the proxy. So you need to set it up the proxy with the relevant settings. Otherwise, it will not be able to capture the internet traffic. So here by default, 8888, of course, you can change it to any valid port number. And once you click on start button, it will display this root CA. So we have to tell JMeter use this certificate so that it can capture the internet traffic. So if you're not installing the certificate in the browser, then it will not know. It will say it cannot reach, or some SSL error, or some without launching the page, it will keep throwing the error. So we have to install the certificate in the browser. So now I'm going to show you how to install it. It's pretty straightforward. So here I'm using Firefox. So just go to that menu icon at the top and click on settings and search for certificates, and you'll get the view certificates button. Just click, and under authorities, so there is a button called import here. So similarly, you can follow the instructions in Chrome, Edge browser, or Vivaldi. So it's almost similar in all the browsers. And click on import, and then you have to just go to your bin directory. So that is where it will generate the certificate for you. So let me quickly navigate to home, tools, Apache JMeter, bin, and here you can see the JMeter temporary root CA. So this root CA will expire after 7 days, but there is a tweak where you can extend the duration, say for example 365 days, 2 years, or 10 years. You can just change the number and then you can generate the certificate. But as of now, for the demonstration purpose, let us go with the default settings. Since I already installed here, there will be no need to add the certificate again. So you have to make sure this CA is installed in your browser. So whichever browser you're using, make sure this is installed. And do not install some other CA. Say for example, you are generated and somebody is giving you the certificate. So do not install it. Okay. So security reasons, it's not advisable. Always generate your own certificate and install only yours. So do not install it from the internet or somebody's certificate. So now we mentioned JMeter to use the proxy, and we have installed the certificate, but we have to tell the Firefox use the proxy. Otherwise, it will not work. So we have to tell both the client, JMeter client, and also the Firefox client to use the proxy. So again, very simple. Search for proxy here. Click on settings, and here you can see no proxy because it's directly connected to the internet. Now, since we are recording, we have to tell Firefox to use localhost, that is our localhost uh, machine, and the port 8888, and also check this box for the HTTPS traffic as well, because our website is HTTPS. So just make sure you set the proxy and click on OK here. Now, Firefox will listen only to 8888. It will not be able to connect to the internet directly. Okay, so we have to run the proxy. Then we have to start our recording. Okay,
So,
otherwise you will not be able to record.
oh, we have a question here
Yes,
from Ajay Krishna. By default, JMeter won't record embedded resources or use it during replay, only if opted. Is it my understanding correct?
again, it depends on the settings. We have it in the where is it here? So here you can set whether you want to record, whether you don't want to record the embedded resources.
Yeah, basically embedded resources are filtered using the exclude pattern. You don't need an embedded resource. So always something called, if you go to HTTP request defaults, there is something called retrieve embedded resources. So it always does it for you whenever
Yes,
there is a parent
also
mapping.
you can see J, right?
That is on recording. While replaying, I'm saying, while
Yeah.
replaying, we have in a request defaults. So you can always go to that and then click on it. So by default, browser enables parallel download of 6. So that is the same with JMeter as well. So that is again related to per host, say. Per host,
Correct.
it will do a parallel. So if you are having multiple hosts, so each host will have a parallel of 6. So that's count, browser count. This you can replicate the same thing here. Um, so JMeter is working. So there is another question. Can we record mobile application in JMeter?
Yes, of course. Yes, the same concept. We have to use install a certificate, start proxy, and make sure your mobile and the JMeter on the same Wi-Fi network. It can
So,
record.
so there is one more question from Singh Pavan. So JMeter is working as a proxy.
JMeter, we are starting the proxy in JMeter.
So basically what we are doing is we are using a proxy component to record the traffic, and then for replaying we are not going to use a proxy. So it is like intercepting. So we there is a there is a two things actually. The communication between browser to our application happens between them. So JMeter will not know what is happening in between them. So to how to JMeter know that? So we need to put a proxy here. So there will be JMeter acts as a man in the middle. So whatever request goes out to the application, it goes via JMeter. So JMeter knows what is going out, and whatever coming back as a response, JMeter know what is the response coming as. So by recording that, JMeter will build all the uh, request and responses, or just a request which is needed for your scripting. So this will make the life easier. So this is purely for scripting purposes, nothing else.
Yes, I'll quickly show you that architecture. So no proxy. Oops, what's happening? Okay, here I have to change. Okay, so there are three components, Pavan. So one is the client, right? So this is the client, and we have say proxy, and again we have the server, right? So this is our server, and this is our proxy, and this is our say a client. So client could be a Firefox browser, right? This is a browser, and in JMeter we are starting right the proxy. So whenever you click on start, it will start a proxy server in the port 8888. So this is what our JMeter is doing. So our Firefox, the client, also 8888. So whenever you send a request, say example.com, it will go to the proxy, and then it will go to server, and server will respond to the proxy, and it will forward to the client. So proxy also will get recorded, and client also will be displaying the screen. So this is how it works. Okay. Any questions, Ibrahim?
Yep. So there is one from DJ Vivek. Can we test chatbots using JMeter?
Yeah, we will come the website that architecture, the protocol in the eventual classes sessions.
Yeah. So these are very advanced. What do you guys can? So what we covering up today is like a very basics, then best practices, and how we can go with that.
Good.
Yeah.
So let me go back, change the proxy again. Okay, let me close everything. Okay. So now, okay, let us proceed. So I'm going to start the proxy server in JMeter. So just click on proxy, the start button. You will get the notification like this, and click on OK. So you get something called transactions control. So this is where you name your transactions. Otherwise, what will happen? You just keep recording, and you have to manually go through what request is for what, right? So initially, when I started performance testing, those days again I start recording and then I usually search for things. Where is it? Where is it there? Right. So always give some name. Say for example, home page like this, and go to your browser and open your JPEG store. So now, if you see any error like in HTTPS not loaded or not secure or any error, mostly it should be your certificate. So if your certificate is properly working, then you don't see any issues. Otherwise, you will get this red color connection is insecure error or SSL error. So those things we will get it. So since we have already installed properly everything, you don't see any error, and you have to just change the transaction name. Whenever you click on any button, any link in the application, make sure you are changing the transaction name so that it properly records. So I'm going to click on enter the store, right? So let me quickly change this. So always give some naming convention, follow this across for your projects so that everybody knows what the each request is. And next I'm going to click on fish, and then I'm going to click on T30 is product. So just to keep clicking and keep changing, add to cart and checkout. Okay, so it'll ask me to log in again. So let me quickly log in. J2EE, that's the username and password. Click on login. Okay, so now I'm going to sign out. Okay, so now we are good. So no need to close your browser. Of course, you can close it if you want, but I'm going to stop the recording. So now let us head to JMeter, and if you expand the left side under the group, there's a recording controller, and if you just expand it, you can see your transactions beautifully recorded. And if you expand each transaction here, this is the transaction controller, and you can see your each request. So now you can easily understand what you did, and even if your teammate is coming to this recording, he can also understand what's going on here. And important thing is the view results tree under the recorder. So this is where the proxy thing, right? It captured your request and response. So whenever you want to debug something, okay, I want to check whether it's actually captured or not, or there is some issue with your request. So how do I compare it, right? So no need to go to browser again and record or see what's going on. You can just come here and open the recording.xml. By default, it will be in the bin folder. If you click on browse, right, you can see recording.xml. You can just open it, and then you can easily navigate between each request, and you can see the request body, request headers, response body, response headers. So this will be very helpful in case if you want to debug, or in case something is not working, you can refer the request and response details. So this is like in load runner, right? We have a recording log. So whenever you record in load runner, it will capture everything. It will keep it in the text format. But here it is a XML format. So this is portable. You can even if you delete it, you can just add it again, because it will be there forever unless you delete it from the bin folder. And if something is wrong, again repeat the process. So go to recorder, start your recording again, and record again, and make sure you are done with the things till you satisfied with your business flow. So this is how you record, my friends, in JMeter. Any questions, guys? Or anything you're missing, Ibrahim? Anything you want to add?
Oh, that's perfect. So So one more setting which we need to do is the URL management. So as a performance engineer, we will be asked to run in multiple environments. So how do we manage that? That's a very tricky task in JMeter. So if you expand any one of the requests now, so each of the requests has its server name IP. So it's a very tedious task to uh, replace it each and everywhere. So all you need to do is like remove everything. So whenever we have the server name, so remove it everything and keep it only in request defaults. So
Yeah.
that's the right way. So whatever applies here, it's basically applied to all of the samplers below it. So that's the job of request default. So you have a centralized area where it can refer to. So whenever the JMeter tries to execute any of the sampler, it comes there and it first checks whether the server name or IP is available or not. If it is not available, then it goes to request default and see if something is given or not. So if it is given, it will take it from there. If something is given in the sampler itself, then sampler supersedes the HTTP request defaults. That's how it works. So that's one of the best practices you can carry on.
Yes. For example, say today I have a JPET store, right? So
Yep.
tomorrow I'm changing it to a JPET clinic,
Yep.
right? So what we have to do, we have to go to each request and find and replace. I mean, you
Yep.
can, of course, you can use find and replace, but that's not the efficient way. So instead, just come here and just change it in one place. It will reflect in everywhere.
Yep.
So reusability, again, yeah, it's all about your comfortness. If you want to change, yes, of course, you can change it manually. But yeah, this is one of the best way to manage multiple environments. Because tomorrow, your development team, right? They say, okay, add one slash, one forward slash, and put it another path, right? Like V1, V2, V3, and it keeps going, right? So just add slash V1, something like this. So it will reflect it everywhere. Okay.
Right.
So now let us quickly run this. If you just click on run button, it will just execute all your, see everything is green. So again, if everything is green doesn't mean it's actually green. Okay, so we have to validate. Again, we will get through in future sessions. We will cover things required for any performance testing project. So we will cover in the future sessions. So any questions, guys, please post in the
Yep.
chat.
So can we test chatbots using JMeter? Again, it's again depends on what protocol it uses. So chatbot can be developed on multiple protocols. The way how you communicate, if it goes along with JMeter, definitely we can do it. One there is a one scenario based question for one of my client website. Although I replied with ED, the response time didn't match with the actual browser. Is it due to any other reason or wrong configuration?
Client website. Okay, there are so many reasons. There could be many reasons, of course.
First of
So
all, I don't know what is ED is.
ED. Okay, ED. I am
Yeah.
also not sure. Ajay, please throw some light on that. Okay, so any other question? Will it work with this? We answered, Ibrahim, Arjun's question. Will it work for all kind of web application?
Yes, it will.
Yes,
Yeah.
should work.
Oh,
So
basically UI actions is different. So
that is
what
Java.
we yeah. So what we do is different. So what we see is like network traffic capture. So UI basically completely relies on object-based identification that either you can use Selenium or Protractor or something else, which is compatible for the application.
Okay. So Arjun, JavaScript. Anything is JavaScript. JMeter is not the right tool. Okay, any tool. If you take generally, JavaScript will not be executed by any tool. Load runner also might will not execute. For example, there is a calculator application, and you are doing some 1+1, right? It will not record. It's pure JavaScript. Only the traffic between the client and the browser it will get captured via proxy.
Yeah.
Others will be ignored.
Okay. The ED is nothing but embedded resources. Yeah, while replaying with embedded resources, you see high response time, which is not actually the browser because that parallelism you didn't set it properly. So as Navin showed you in the HTTP request defaults, you can set the parallel setting. So you need to exactly mimic what is it in the browser. So if you do it, you will see uh, similar response time as like browser.
Also,
Mm,
cache also will plays important role,
yeah,
Ajay.
yeah,
You might be running with cache on, JMeter might not be cache turned off.
right.
So there are various reasons the delay, I mean, difference between. Of course, If I'm opening Google now, and if I open next minute or next second, the response time will vary. Not every time you get the same exact response, so it's not possible.
Okay.
Can we include async testing using JMeter next session? Yes,
Yeah,
yeah, we can. So we'll
yeah,
set up
we'll
some
work.
demo application. We can do that.
So that is easy. Problem is we need to show you a live demo. For that, we need to
Yeah,
work on a
as a
application to
screen,
that exactly mimics async behavior. Yep, that is also done. Yeah.
for recording mobile application, only the server request will be captured because yes. So only the again JavaScript or client side tapping, swiping, no, unless it is contacting the server side, right? Yeah, only the API calls between your mobile and the server will be captured. So please give a thumbs up if you like this session. We will set up more sessions like this. Next session onwards, so please open JMeter alongside with us, and you can just follow along. I will set up some GitHub repository. I already have some GitHub repository. I can set it up. I can fine tune that, and then you can follow along with the instructions. So, what is the best approach to test with cache and without cache? Any inputs from your side, Ibrahim?
What's the best approach to test with cache? And again, nobody is now is um,
There's no best approach.
yeah, it's like it's a work means you can validate in both the cases. It totally depends on the architecture. So some of them use cache on their web server, as well as they use a CDN for distributing the resources. If that is the case, I know you should test with the cache. So test with cache is a good option for that CDM perspective. So without cache is like you can say as an optional or like an extended testing where it says that when everyone is using when you don't have a cache in system, then what is the impact? If you want to see, then you can go for a without cache thing. So basically what without a cache is like the server will process it and then send you the embedded resources for you. If it is of a cached thing, so it will process one time and it will try to send it until the retention period is done. So nowadays people are using distributed caching, which is CDN and everything. So it's completely on the architecture part, so you need to be very clear about what is the architecture implemented for your application again.
Yes. So one simple setting you can do in JMeter is just run with without clearing cache and cookies, and
Yep.
run another run with cache and cookies, and you can see the difference. So that's one of the way you can follow in JMeter perspective. But you have to understand your architecture first, where and all cache is there, what is the object size, the expiration time, because cache invalidation is very expensive thing.
Yep.
It's not free. It has cost money to your project budget.
Yeah. Secondly, you need to understand the presentation layer very well about your application. That is a very important stuff before you start testing, and make sure your requests are equally distributed among your web servers. Either you should have a load balancer or a in place before that you need to check it.
So we're getting positive feedback, Ibrahim. So we have to set up more sessions like this. We have to work
Let's see.
harder.
Yeah, let's say in the next session we'll come up with something unique and which will be useful for everybody. I think we ran 130.
Any other
Oh,
questions, guys?
any other things which you are expecting? Also, just post on us. We will work on it to present it to you guys. That will be more useful than what we know and we explaining it. So if you wanted something, then we'll try to bring it up as a presentation. Then CPU saturation issue. That's how it comes in monitoring. You want us to cover it here?
Yeah, we cover observability, PM. I mean, eventually we're just getting started. Of course, yes. So we have plans to go to cloud native environment as well.
CPU saturation issue.
I think you're suggesting the session. I guess. I guess. Right,
Oh,
Sujit?
okay, okay. Please say that if you wanted the session on CPU saturation issue, correlation in JMeter, expecting
Yeah, we have
executive.
plans for data
Yeah,
parameterization, correlation, Groovy, and Docker, Kubernetes. Yes, we will cover these things. AWS, we will
one
cover.
question not related to testing: how to fix log4j for remote machine?
Fix log4j means you are updating log4j. Nice boy.
Yeah, I don't. I'm not sure. Log4j comes in different application. Is it on server or is it here? For the JMeter you're asking.
Yeah, throw some more light.
That question is not clear. So where are you seeing the log4j issue?
So if it is a JMeter, there are already I have put so many articles in my blog. If you go to my blog, you can see how to mitigate the log4j, how to upgrade. There are so many ways to upgrade. Uh, so it's a suggestion for us to session basically. Yes, I will cover that, nice boy, next class. It's pretty quick. It will not take much time to upgrade.
Yep, yep.
There's so many ways to mitigate that issue. We'll cover that.
Okay, yes, on session on my CPU usage and saturation, we have bottleneck at CPU mostly saturation. Okay, yeah, we can cover that. Oh, this is related to recent vulnerability on Log4j.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah. That's what I was talking about.
he has an excellent article, so you can refer that. That will be easy.
Okay, guys. Thank you everyone for joining. Thanks for from
Okay,
joining from YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, right everywhere. So next week we'll come up with a different topic. We will see. I'm planning to cover more tools, not just JMeter. Other tools also I'm planning with different guests. So please stay tuned. Subscribe to YouTube channel, QA Insights channel. Thank you. Have a nice weekend.
thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good day. Bye bye.
Yes, Harish, we will cover that. Thank you. Bye.